Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I want to discuss today my counseling session. I go to counseling as a part of my components to bring my mind to a balance. I partner with a clinician once a week, and it's so good. It's good for you, it's healthy for you, and you would want that partnership because if you want someone to give you a textbook answer to what's going on with you and the mental illness symptoms that you carry, you definitely would want a clinician to partner with you. And it is so helpful, and it keeps me at a balance, and it keeps me aware, and it keeps me thriving. So today in my counseling session, we were discussing delusions, and I was letting my counselor know that I suffer from delusions on a regular basis. And my delusions are always about a male figure, and this particular male figure is fond of me, or probably having an attraction towards me, and I have an attraction towards that person, and it makes me the delusion. Now keep in mind, the delusion is fictitious. It's giving me the wrong impression. It's giving me the impression that this particular person is fond of me or have an attraction towards me. So then I would in turn respond irresponsibly by letting that person know that I'm fond or I have an attraction for them. So me and my counselor was really trying to unpack delusions and how they are very dangerous, and how you have to really be aware of the undergirded foundation reasoning for delusions. So I let her know my delusions are really, it stems from my trauma from when I was 7 years old. You know, when you're searching for something, or you have a void in your life and you crave something, you know, the delusions in your mind play on your need for something. It plays on the necessity to fill that gap for having a family if you didn't have a family, or needing love if you didn't have love. And the negative to that is delusions, because they are exactly what they are. They're delusions. They give you a fictitious image, and when you listen to the image and you play into that image and you start to respond to that image, that particular person may not feel the same way that you feel. So then what you're going to get is a rejection. And when you get that rejection, that in turn to you would allow deep depression to set in, and those symptoms of deep depression to play off of that delusion. So what was happening was, for example, I was fond of a person in my building, and the delusions led me to believe that that person was fond of me as well, to the point where it would play a fictitious movie. Like, I would be fond of that person would leave his girlfriend or his wife and come be with me, and we will live together and have a wonderful life, and we will be in love forever. So that would make me respond irresponsibly by reaching out to him, giving him my phone number, or letting him know that I'm interested, by probably touching him, and just doing something that wasn't triple checked going forward when we in our table talks. We're going to go forward, and I will let you know by triple checking. Because you have a mental illness, it is good to triple check the facts. You want to make sure that you're doing things on the side of reality and not on the side of fantasy. So when I fell into the image and I followed through by responding irresponsibly, I got a rejection. And when I got that rejection, immediately deep depression jumped in with all the symptoms deep depression carries, and just weighed a big fat heavy weight on me that I'm not good enough. You got rejected because you are less valued, and he put that self-loathing inside your thinking, and before you know it, I'm depressed. So I was telling my counselor all of this, and we started to really dig deep, and let's get to the foundation, because once we get to the foundation, we can apply a positive antidote to the symptoms. And the next time that happens, I am more aware, and I can triple check, and I don't have to fall into the hands of delusions without applying a positive antidote to that symptom. And it was so helpful to me. It was so eye-opening to me. And it made me realize that my mind play a lot of fantasy thinking when you're dealing with mental illness. That's when we can discuss post-traumatic stress, when it plays a lot of imagery and a lot of visions and things that will make you so fearful that you won't leave your home. But we are going forward to make ourselves aware, not only aware, but to apply positive antidotes to those symptoms so we can keep our mind at a balance. It is important to keep our mind at a balance. We don't want to be imbalanced, because that's when we start to respond irresponsibly, just like my delusions. We'll talk more about delusions, because delusions sometimes are attached to lack of sleep, having insomnia, and it can actually behave on its own when you've experienced delusions. It can be attached to a childhood trauma. It can be attached itself to anything, or it can also stand on its own. So we're going to have to educate ourselves on what we're doing with the diseases and the symptoms that come with those diseases, and how we can apply positive antidotes to bring our mind to a balance, so we won't allow those symptoms to take over our lives. Therefore, we'll be able to thrive in our lives and have beautiful families of our own, and we don't have to have the fantasy. We can have it in reality. Most of the times going forward, I deal with hallucinations and delusions, and I had to work with my clinician on understanding both, because delusions make me respond irresponsibly, and hallucinations paralyzes me. Because when you're dealing with hallucinations, for me, hallucinations, they make you fearful. They make you stop in your tracks where you can't move forward. They make you doubt yourself. And before you know it, you're not living your life to the fullest, and you're not thriving, because you are allowing your hallucinations. You believe what you see. And that's why it's important. We'll talk more about triple checking. Sometimes you have to triple check to make sure you're on the reality side and not the fantasy side. A fantasy side will not provide evidence. I had to learn that through my experiences through hallucinations. When I walk around the house, I had hallucinations coming out of my vents. I had hallucinations next to my bedside. I had hallucinations standing in my kitchen. And it had me paralyzed to the point where I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't trust anyone. And the hallucinations would make me pause and not do anything. I wouldn't live. I wasn't living. I wasn't taking my life to the fullest extent. I wasn't doing anything. I would stay in one part of my house, in one particular part of my room, and the hallucinations would just take over my entire house. It's only when I start partnering with my clinician and I start exercising my self-assessment, my meditative days, when I start to sit down and examine that hallucinations, you can challenge a hallucination. And if it does not produce evidence of its existence, it is fictitious. And I had to really, really go in my bathroom, physically stand in front of my mirror and touch my mirror. And if you are inside my mirror, then the evidence of you will be evident by if I touch you, I can touch your face. And when I touched the mirror, and it was just a mirror, I start to get mental muscle. My mental muscles start to get stronger and stronger. And then I would do it for my kitchen, and then I'll do it for my bedside, and then I'll do it for my living room vent. And then you get to say to yourself that I know the difference between reality and fantasy. Fantasy has zero evidence. It cannot prove itself. So that's when you start to challenge it and test it and jump out there. And once you realize that it's not reality, you take control. I'm in control of my home, so I can thrive now. I go outside, I shop. I don't have to order food anymore. I can go outside and shop, bring my food back to the house. I can go outside and jog. I can go outside and do a lot of things that I couldn't do before because I had allowed my hallucinations to take over my home. So now we're talking about those things, triple checking and the evidence of reality. We'll talk about that going forward too, because I'm going to need to see the evidence of reality in order for me to believe that you exist. And if you exist in my refrigerator, you're going to have to prove it. So, the proof is in the pudding, like they used to say in the olden days. So it's very important that we start doing that and taking control of our lives and thriving and keeping our mind at a balance. So delusions and hallucinations are one of the things that I definitely want to talk about. And I wanted to talk about the partnership of clinicians, and I wanted to talk about executing all that we talk about. We're going to talk about ways to thrive. My ways, I'm just suggesting. Your ways, you'll be just suggesting. But everyone has their own personalized way to make their lives better, to bring their minds to a balance. And that's awesome. Let's hear it. That's perfect, because we'll start to see people get mentally stronger with the ways that they use to apply to their symptoms and what they're having in their lives. So yes, I would love to hear all the ways we thrive and the antidotes that we apply to the symptoms that makes us better. And that meditative days is for me. Yoga may be for you. Riding a bike may be for others. Listening to symphony music may be for others. We can find a bunch of ways that we can bring our mind to a balance. because dealing with mental illness, our brains are busy. We're dealing with busy brains. Bringing it under control and keeping it balanced. That's what we want to do. So definitely next time we'll be talking about hallucinations more. We'll talk about PTSD, and then we'll touch on the basis of what's the benefits of having a clinician. A clinician is a partner. So I'll definitely talk to you next time. And in the meantime, stay healthy.